anything else do you think you could share in terms of maybe the course or anything you'd like to maybe share with a student who yeah, like that you think you could maybe help them out or something, or anything about working with me?
Oh no, I definitely enjoyed my time working with you. It was nice seeing a different side of a prof, and I enjoyed the stories, and just it honestly, I came to class and I really enjoyed it. Like I wasn't coming to class, like obviously I'm coming to learn, but I knew that I was going to have such a good class. That's why Mondays and Wednesdays were always my best classes. They were my best days. It was only your class, and I definitely had such an amazing experience in the class, and definitely take it again. You know, I'm so happy that I did take it. And I think just seeing exactly like I said, just you explain your failures and knowing that you could overcome them. And you know what I mean? Like not just hearing about everyone else's success, but hearing about the bad things as well. And just, I think what really shocked me, I think, was your perspective on life and the way that you looked upon everything. And it's nice seeing it from an older perspective, someone who's experienced everything, and just, you know, the way that you look back at life and things that maybe you would change or things that you wouldn't change. And it's nice for me to take that in and use that for me going forward. You got to be passionate about what you're talking about. When you see people who aren't really interested and they're just trying to get through it, you know, you kind of lose interest. But when you see people who are really into it, and I seen it with a couple of people, I was actually extremely shocked, but I was like, oh my goodness, like I could hear them talk for a whole hour and I would not get tired.
Yeah.
So I think that presentation definitely taught me a lot.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting because there's two stories I'd like to share. So one was that when I first got hired, my chair of the department told me, he said, you know, what's your study approach and what's your what's your method of teaching? He asked, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to know what my system was of teaching. And I looked at him kind of confused. I'm like, I don't really have one. And he's like, what do you mean? So I said, because I don't think it's my job to teach them. And he looked at me weird and he goes, what are you talking about? I said, my job is to inspire them so that they want to learn it.
Yeah.
My job isn't to teach. My job is to get them to want to learn. The top artists, like musicians and stuff like that, right? There's no logic in the stuff that they do. Some of it, I mean, some of these guys, the way they look and everything, they're crazy. But what is the one thing that they do is that they entertain.
Yeah.
And people will pay millions of dollars just to be entertained. So I thought about it. I'm like, that's really, in my opinion, what I have to do. Like I have to go into the class, be calm, be relaxed, probably say a few bad jokes here and there, right? But the key is that I'm trying to be a little bit entertaining. And by doing that, I think it helped the students want to learn more, which is very...
Oh, I agree with that. That's a great way to put it, actually. Even saying it from a student's perspective, when a teacher comes and just is saying and going and going and going, and you're not interested in what they have to say, but when they actually are entertaining and want you to learn what they're learning, you make them feel like they want to learn. You know what I mean? And I definitely experienced that in your class. You came in, you know, you made everything so fun, and everything was just, I genuinely wanted to learn what you were teaching.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you guys are also really good students too. So I think it's a win-win, because
I think we had a great class.
Yeah, but all my classes have been really good. And I think,
oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think it just has to do with the fact that the students right away in the beginning, I told them, I said, listen, this is not a class where you're going to sit in the background and just not contribute. Like you have to get involved, right? And I think that was huge, because I think then the people knew coming in what was expected. So maybe that was it. I don't know, but no.
Yeah, I think your first class has the most influence, in my opinion. I think if you make the first class really well, and first class has to do with so much, like myself, I went to a class and this prof was just talking and talking and talking, and I couldn't keep my attention on him for more than I think a minute. And I had to drop his class the next day. Like there was no way his method of teaching could have worked for me. So I just had to trade for a different class. But I'll say the first class is really what makes the impact of whether the students will stay or leave, you know, and you don't want to be wasting your time or their time, right? So might as well make it worth it for both.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. No, but it was good to have you in the class. if you just relax and be who you are, usually things just go well. It's when you try to be somebody different, right?
I agree.
It's
Yeah.
when you try to impress or something, that's usually doesn't go too well. So
Yeah, exactly. Like usually somebody's good enough. Might as well let that shine.
really,
Right?
and people say you shouldn't do this, but
Mhm.
I didn't try to come in with that attitude. I tried to come in as if I was like your big brother, right? Or
Yeah,
your big sis, not your big sister, but like, yeah, like
like
your
a friend or anything. Yeah,
yeah, like a friend or something,
yeah,
just to say, hey
yeah,
guys, like this is how you do it, sort of thing. And
yeah,
that mindset coming in, I thought was really effective. And it took me some trial and error because when I first started, I came in like I'm the prof and I'm the expert, and you guys have to
yeah,
listen to me, and it just went sideways. But
yeah.
after a while, I realized, you know what? If I talk to them as if I would talk to my,
Mhm.
you know, my sister or something like that,
Yeah.
it just goes better. I thought.
Oh
So,
no, I definitely agree with that. I think when you feel the prof interested in what you have to say and
mm,
interested in actually learning and everything like that, and just wanting to teach, interested in teaching their class. You know, like I've seen a couple people who are a couple teachers who just they come to class and they're just teaching. They don't seem entertained in what they're learning. They're teaching. So it's like if you're not even interested in what you're teaching, how am I going to be interested in what you're
yeah,
teaching?
yeah,
So it's interesting seeing that from you.
yeah,
I know I definitely enjoyed it all from the stories to everything. I love stories. You're like, oh, it's a waste of time. I haven't. I'm like, no, let's hear it. Let's hear it. I want to hear the story.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
like even I really enjoyed like when you asked the question. A lot of the time you would just wait a little bit. You're like, I know you guys are thinking, and a lot of teachers don't know that. But having you wait that time and actually letting us think, that helped a lot too. I really enjoyed that.
yeah. I didn't know that actually. Like I didn't know. I just. That's interesting you said because I'm learning from you because the only reason I did it was because
Mhm.
I'm like, let's just make it awkward so someone has to say something. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I'm just going to create, and I said it. I'm like, let's just create some awkward silence, and then
Yeah.
somebody's going to die of the awkward of the tension. So somebody's going to say something, and then usually they did. But I, yeah, I'm a bit different that way. But I found that it worked when I gave people time. And yeah, I think you're right. People were thinking. That's probably why it took a while.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, and I just to see where the class is at too. Like sometimes they don't understand, sometimes they're thinking of something completely different or they misunderstood you, you know? So understanding what the vibe of the class is and just, a lot of times teachers just think that these students are automatically listening to what I'm saying, but it's not. Sometimes students get lost, sometimes they fall back behind,
yeah,
or so it's nice to just know that you're always interested to see where we are.
yeah.
Yeah.
My intention for teaching is to not only should I kind of impart some knowledge that can
Mhm.
benefit other people, but I also have to have fun. Like
Yeah.
both parties have to win,
Yeah.
right? And so I hope it came out, and I from what this sounds,
Oh no, you did. Because I felt it. Like you're like, it just seemed like, you genuinely wanted to see everyone else do good and get where they want to get or what their definition of success is and get there. And it's just so nice that you taught us all of these things to actually get there. And I never even knew there was actually a class like this, which I definitely recommend to anyone to take it.
I'm using the material from my book, right?
Okay.
And I didn't like traditional ways of teaching.
Hmm.
I was like, I don't want these people just to follow strategies. And
Yeah.
I think, and I could be wrong, but
Mhm.
I haven't taken anybody else's classes or whatever, but I think
Yeah.
a lot of the classes I've taken really focus on strategy,
Mhm.
right? And sometimes even though you give a student strategy, they don't always do well. And so the
Exactly.
reason why they don't do well is because they're thinking. So I really
Yeah.
want to harp on the thinking part. So
Yeah. I agree with that. I like how you made mindset like a very big thing. You're just like, you need the mindset for everything. And I've seen it just in my own self, right? When you
mm,
change the way you think, it'll change everything else for you. And I think, and I agree with you on the part of effort. Like a lot of people just like try harder, do better, study more. And then you do that and you just don't see results. And you realize that's not the issue. And just to learn where that issue is coming from or what you have to change really helped me a lot. Like I knew what the issue was, I just didn't know where it was coming from, if that made sense. Like I knew effort wasn't my problem. I just didn't know what it was. I'm like, if I'm trying hard enough, just like everyone is, why am I not achieving the grades that I want to achieve?
yeah,
And it's just, I think it's frustrating because in high school, I feel like that's kind of how it is. You until you get to university, you kind of get to sit there and reflect it. But in high school, it's just like, oh, either you're smart or you're not. And if you looked at my marks in high school, by no means they are good. So it's nice that you're actually, I learned, I'm like, I have to be able to talk and be confident and say what I want to say and let the teacher understand my point of view. And that's what I did. I just kind of had to grow outside my bubble.
Yeah, and you did a great job. You did a really good job. So that was really good. And it's funny because I used to hear the same thing. You know, I wasn't doing well in school, and I remember my mom told me one day, she goes, "Just keep working hard, keep working hard." And then I told her, and I said, "Don't tell me to work hard." And she's like, "What do you mean?" So I said, Tell me to work smart, and tell me to work intelligently. Don't tell me to work hard." And then one day I wasn't doing well, and she was like, "So are you working intelligently?" And it was like a light bulb. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm not working intelligently." And then I had to like stop, and I had to think, right? I had to develop the right type of thinking. And then I'm like, okay. And then I went and then I did the result. But most people don't do that, right? They shut their brain off and just focus on the doing part. So yeah, it was good. It was good. So
and no, even like for teaching other people, like it wasn't even just benefit for me, but because I have 4 sisters, right? So I have a lot of sisters. And so majority of them are younger than me. So it's so nice to just take these and know how to actually give feedback to somebody. And just to know that, you know, like I said, influence them while they're young. They're still growing. Their mindsets are still bendable. So you can still, you know, change them and know that the right way of thinking and what's right, what's wrong, you know?
yeah.
And no, and just even like if any parents out there in the class, any people who do want kids in the future, just to know how to treat your kids and what's a right way to influence them, a right way to give them feedback.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not married, I don't have kids, but maybe one day when I do have kids, like I'm going to definitely teach them this stuff. But I was going to say something about you, like, believe it or not, your sisters are going to look up to you. So you are a role model to them. So just make sure you give them the right information. I really like to see how people are progressing, and it makes me feel good that I'm actually helping other people, because I never had that growing up, and I was always I had to do everything. I'm sorry?
You're definitely making a difference. You're making a difference. I've seen it with so many students, and even myself included.
Yeah, I appreciate it. But the main thing is that for me, I think that in life, you have certain gifts, right? Your certain talents and stuff like that. And one day you're gonna go, right? So the way I look at it is, let's try to make the world better before you go, because I think you take your deeds with you, right?
Exactly.
And so that's the way I kind of look at it. But no, I appreciate the feedback. And again, you're a great student. Keep it up, and don't lose confidence in yourself. And I don't think you will.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You've changed a lot of things for me, and I really appreciate that. I hope I actually am getting another class with you. I appreciate though that you do appreciate feedback and you improve on them. You know, at the end of the class, you're like, okay, can I take the things that I did really well or that I didn't do really well? And, you actually take those into considerations and change it for future generations to come.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because the fact that you enjoy this class, it's because of feedback other students gave me.
Like, that's really
like students would tell more stories.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so then I would think of stories to tell you. And then other students would say, we need to do more group work. So then I'm like, okay, so group work. So everything that you guys tell me, I'm trying to implement if I can. So
no, 100%. I'd say like my favorite part of your class, I'd say the stories. I'm like, I don't even care if you want to make up a story, just tell me a story. Like I could hear a story every single day. I wouldn't even care.
No, but they're all true. They're like everything I told you. But some of them I have to adjust though.
The thing is that even like incorporating humor, I was thinking about that. I think a lot of students nowadays get attracted to humor.
Yeah.
So when you incorporate humor, it makes it so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. That's good. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, all the best.
All right, enjoy your break. Have a good break.
Thank you. You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.